Rohan is the land where legends are born, a kingdom of horse lords forged in battle and bound by loyalty. It has faced unrelenting trials throughout its history. But who are the heroes that carried Rohan through its darkest days and secured its place in Middle-earth's legacy? From Eorl the Young, who built the kingdom, to Helm Hammerhand, whose defiance became legend, to Éomer, the warrior king who restored its glory. These figures are the lifeblood of the Riddermark. Let's begin with the story of Eorl the Young, the first great hero of Rohan. Eorl was not born a king, but rose to greatness through his unwavering bravery and leadership. He was a chieftain of the Eotheod, a northern people known for their mastery of horses and fierce independence. The Eotheod dwelt in the Vales of Anduin, far from the conflicts of Gondor and Mordor, but their fate would soon intertwine with that of the southern kingdoms in a way that would change Middle-earth forever. The defining moment of Eorl's life came during Gondor's time of direst need. Around the year 2510 of the Third Age, the steward of Gondor, Sirion, faced an overwhelming threat. The Balcuth, a savage Easterling horde, had invaded from the east and threatened to overrun the land. With Gondor's forces stretched thin, Sirion sent desperate pleas for aid northward. Few answered, but Eorl did. Recognizing the gravity of the situation and guided by a vision of mutual destiny, Eorl rallied his riders and led them on a legendary journey south. This ride, later immortalized in song and legend, was known as the Ride of Eorl. It covered hundreds of miles in mere days as the Eotheod charged across the plains of Calenardon to meet the Balcuth at the Field of Celebrant. There, alongside Gondor's remaining forces, Eorl and his riders turned the tide of battle. Mounted on his great steed, Felaroth, the first of the Meras, horses of unparalleled strength and intelligence, Eorl cut through the enemy ranks, inspiring his men to fight with unmatched ferocity. The victory was decisive, and Gondor was saved. In gratitude, Sirion offered Eorl and his people the land of Calenardon, a vast, fertile plain that would become Rohan. Eorl accepted, swearing an oath of eternal alliance between Gondor and Rohan. This oath, sworn atop Halifairion, the westernmost beacon of Gondor, would bind the two kingdoms together for centuries. Eorl then led his people south, settling in their new home and establishing the kingdom of Rohan, where he became its first king. Eorl's reign, though short, was marked by unity and strength. He forged a nation from scattered clans and laid the foundation for the proud traditions of the Rohirrim. His legacy lived on in the values of courage and loyalty that became synonymous with Rohan. Eorl's story reminds us that heroism is born not just in the moment of battle, but in the willingness to forge bonds and build something greater than oneself. Centuries after Eorl's time, another figure emerged in Rohan's history, whose name would forever be associated with resilience and defiance: Helm Hammerhand. Helm was the 9th king of Rohan, ruling during a period of great strife. His story is steeped in tragedy and myth, cementing his status as one of Rohan's most revered and legendary figures. Helm's reign was defined by the treachery of Freka, a powerful landowner who sought to overthrow the king. When Freka came to Medusel demanding that Helm marry his son to the king's daughter, Helm saw through his ambitions and refused. In an act of raw fury, Helm killed Freka with a single blow, earning him the name Hammerhand. Freka's death ignited a rebellion, and his kin waged war against Helm's rule. As if Freka's rebellion wasn't enough, Rohan soon faced another catastrophe: the long winter. This bitter season brought famine and death, testing the limits of Helm's leadership. Forced to retreat to the fortress that would later bear his name, Helm's Deep, Helm and his people endured a brutal siege. While the snows fell and the winds howled, Helm took to the field alone, clad in white, striking fear into the hearts of his enemies. Legends say that he wielded no weapon but his fists, slaying foes with a single blow. Tragically, the long winter claimed Helm's sons, and the king himself died during the siege. Yet his defiance left an indelible mark. The fortress of Helm's Deep, along with the Hornburg, became symbols of Rohan's unyielding spirit. Helm's horn, which he sounded before his solitary raids, was said to echo across the mountains, striking terror into his enemies, even after his death. Helm's Hammerhand's story encapsulates the endurance and resolve of Rohan in its darkest hours. Though his life was filled with loss, his name became synonymous with resilience and unbreakable courage. The very land he defended honours his legacy, reminding all who hear his tale that Rohan's spirit is not easily extinguished. Theoden, the 17th king of Rohan, stands as a figure of redemption and courage, whose story is one of overcoming despair to lead his people during their time of greatest need. His reign began under the shadow of manipulation and weakness, but transformed into a tale of heroic leadership and sacrifice, culminating in one of Rohan's most glorious moments. When Theoden took the throne, Rohan faced external threats from Saruman in Isengard and Mordor's growing influence. Yet the kingdom's greatest danger came from within. Grimmer Wormtongue, Saruman's agent, had infiltrated Theoden's court, poisoning his mind and isolating him from his loyal allies. Under Grimmer's influence, Theoden became a shadow of his former self, appearing frail and indecisive. This period of stagnation left Rohan vulnerable, and its people began to lose hope. Theoden's transformation began with the intervention of Gandalf the White. In one of the most dramatic moments in Rohan's history, Gandalf freed Theoden from Wormtongue's influence, restoring his strength and clarity of mind. The king's renewal was not merely physical, but spiritual. He reclaimed his authority and embraced his role as the protector of his people. The Battle of Helm's Deep tested Theoden's resolve and leadership. As Saruman's forces marched on the fortress, Theoden led the Rohirrim in a desperate defense. Despite being vastly outnumbered, his courage inspired his warriors to hold the line. In the darkest hour, Theoden rallied his men with a cry of defiance and led a daring charge that broke the siege, aided by Gandalf and Éomer's timely arrival with reinforcements. The victory at Helm's Deep was a turning point, restoring hope to Rohan and solidifying Theoden's place among its greatest leaders. Theoden's final and most heroic act came at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. Leading the Rohirrim in defense of Gondor, he delivered one of Middle-earth's most iconic speeches, calling his riders to charge into battle with unparalleled ferocity. Theoden's valor and leadership turned the tide, but it came at a great cost. Facing the Witch King of Angmar, he was mortally wounded, passing the mantle of leadership to his nephew Éomer. Theoden's legacy is one of redemption and sacrifice. His journey from despair to heroism mirrors Rohan's resilience, and his final charge remains a symbol of the kingdom's undying spirit. In his last moments, Theoden proclaimed his love for Rohan, departing as a king who had reclaimed his honor and inspired his people to stand tall against overwhelming odds. Éomer, the 18th king of Rohan, inherited the throne in the wake of Theoden's death and the devastating battles of the War of the Ring. As Theoden's nephew and one of his closest allies, Éomer had already proven himself a fierce warrior and a loyal defender of Rohan. His rise to kingship marked the beginning of a new era for the Riddermark, one defined by restoration and renewal. Éomer's heroism was evident long before he ascended the throne. As a marshal of the Mark, he tirelessly patrolled Rohan's borders, defending his people against orcs and Saruman's raiders. His encounter with Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli on the plains of Rohan showcased his bravery and judgment as he provided aid despite the dangers of defying Wormtongue's orders. This act of defiance highlighted Éomer's unwavering loyalty to Rohan and his commitment to doing what was right, even at great personal risk. One of Éomer's most defining moments came at the Battle of Helm's Deep. Riding with reinforcements alongside Gandalf, Éomer's charge shattered Saruman's army, securing victory for the beleaguered defenders. His courage on the battlefield earned him the respect of his people and cemented his status as a leader of unparalleled strength and resolve. As king, Éomer's leadership was tested at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. With Theoden slain, Éomer took command of the Rohirrim, rallying them to continue the fight. His grief at Theoden's death fueled his determination, and his ferocity in battle inspired those around him. Fighting alongside Aragorn, Éomer helped turn the tide against Sauron's forces, ensuring Rohan's survival and Gondor's salvation. After the War of the Ring, Éomer became known as Éomer Aedig, or Éomer the Blessed. His reign was marked by peace and prosperity as he worked to rebuild Rohan and strengthen its alliance with Gondor. His close friendship with Aragorn, now King Elessar, symbolized the unity of the Free Peoples and the enduring bond between Rohan and Gondor. Éomer's legacy is one of hope and renewal. He carried forward the ideals of his forebears, combining the courage of Eorl, the resilience of Helm, and the wisdom of Theoden. Under his rule, Rohan flourished, and its people were reminded that even in the darkest times, the spirit of the Riddermark would endure. Rohan's history is filled with figures whose courage and contributions deserve recognition, even if they do not stand as prominently in legend as kings like Eorl or Theoden. These unsung heroes played pivotal roles in safeguarding Rohan's legacy, often at great personal cost. Their stories, though quieter, are no less heroic. Théodred, the son of Theoden, was the rightful heir to the throne of Rohan. As the first Marshal of the Mark, Théodred dedicated his life to protecting Rohan from external threats, particularly the growing menace of Saruman. He led his men with valor during the early stages of Saruman's campaign, holding the fords of Eomer against overwhelming odds. In a desperate attempt to defend Rohan's borders, Théodred was ambushed by Saruman's forces. Though he fought fiercely, he was gravely wounded and died defending his homeland. His death was a devastating blow to Theoden and the people of Rohan, marking a turning point in their war against Isengard. Théodred's sacrifice exemplifies the Rohirrim's unwavering commitment to their land and people, even in the face of insurmountable odds. Éowyn, Theoden's niece and Éomer's sister, is one of Rohan's most celebrated figures. Her story is one of defiance against societal expectations and unyielding courage. While women of the Rohirrim were traditionally not expected to fight, Éowyn's heart yearned for the battlefield. She refused to stand idly by as her people faced destruction, disguising herself as a man to ride into battle alongside the Rohirrim. Her greatest moment came during the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, where she faced the Witch King of Angmar. In one of the most iconic scenes in Middle-earth's history, Éowyn defied prophecy and struck down the Lord of the Nazgul, declaring, "I'm no man." This act not only eliminated one of Sauron's most fearsome servants, but also symbolized the strength and determination of Rohan's people. Éowyn's bravery and sacrifice ensured her place among Rohan's greatest heroes. Though a less prominent figure, Hama's loyalty and bravery deserve recognition. As the Door Warden of Meduseld, Hama stood by Theoden during his time of weakness and was one of the first to recognize Gandalf's intentions to help the king. Despite the risk of defying Wormtongue's authority, Hama allowed Gandalf to keep his staff, a decision that played a key role in Theoden's liberation. Hama's dedication to Theoden extended to the battlefield, where he fought valiantly at Helm's Deep. Tragically, he fell defending the fortress, his loyalty to Rohan unbroken. His story reminds us that even the smallest acts of courage can have a profound impact on the fate of a kingdom. Grimbold and Elfhelm, two valiant commanders of Rohan, played critical roles in the War of the Ring. Grimbold's leadership at the fords of Eomer, though ultimately resulting in Théodred's death, delayed Saruman's forces long enough for Rohan to regroup. His strategic acumen and sacrifice contributed significantly to Rohan's eventual victory. Elfhelm, a skilled horseman and tactician, was instrumental in coordinating Rohan's forces during the march to Gondor. His leadership in the chaos of battle ensured the Rohirrim's success at Pelennor Fields. Together, Grimbold and Elfhelm represent the strength of Rohan's military tradition and the unbreakable spirit of its people. The heroes of Rohan, from mighty kings to quiet warriors, remind us that heroism isn't just about great deeds. It's about courage, loyalty, and sacrifice in the face of overwhelming odds. Their stories inspire us to persevere, proving that even in the darkest times, the spirit of Rohan shines brightly. Which hero resonated most with you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoyed this journey through the Riddermark, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with fellow fans of Middle-earth. Consider joining as a member to support the channel and keep these stories alive. Thank you in advance, and until next time.